Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, joined today by Javier the Habanero. How you doing, Javier? Cool. So do you guys know what one of my favorite things about the One Piece story is? I mean, aside from all this. Yeah, it's devil fruits. You know, you have these magical fruits scattered all over the world. You eat one, you don't have the ability to swim anymore, that's taken from you, but in exchange, you're given some random superpower. It could turn you into an element, or an animal, or a jacket. You know, it could be anything. And you'd figure after 20 years of serialization in Shonen Jump and almost nearly 900 chapters, can you believe that shit? 900 chapters of this story, and you'd think devil fruits would get stale after a while, or you'd think that the creator would stop coming up with original ideas. And while I will admit there are some devil fruit abilities that are kind of out there, as I stated, the jacket fruit, but for the most part, devil fruits are not stale. If anything, they're even more mysterious now than ever, because we're getting into the concept of artificial devil fruits. So not just devil fruits that you just find, that's like a mystical quality to them, but now they're figuring out ways to manufacture them to create an effect that you could decide on what the devil fruit would be. And while the artificial devil fruits seem limited to just zone types right now, it's really cool, and that's definitely probably going to kick more into high gear when we get into Kaido's arc involving his crew, which is entirely made up of artificial devil fruit users. So, and eventually Vegapunk's going to get introduced, and we're going to find out way more about devil fruits, what they really are, and all that stuff. But I've always loved the concept of devil fruits. It wouldn't be One Piece without them. Now, I've already made videos about the three categories of devil fruits: Logia, Paramecia, and Zone, but when you get to Zone, it's something special, because Zone actually has subcategories that Oda himself has specified. Carnivorous Zone, Ancient Zone, and what we're going to be talking about today, Mythical Zone, baby. Yeah, I imagine he's just sitting around and is just like, you know what, let's just throw magical creatures from fantasy into One Piece. How you gonna do that? Well, I'll just make a subcategory of zones. I'll call it Mythical Zones. It'll be the rarest type of devil fruit you can find in the world. There's probably only gonna be a few of these things, but whoever finds one, you kind of get the devil fruit jackpot, because you sort of get a zone ability to turn into like the 3 stages of an animal, but also you get some special power that might be similar to a Paramecia. So it's kind of like you're combining 2 classes into one. Like Sengoku's Hito no Mi model Buddha. It allows him to transform into a Buddha. He probably has the different, phases that you can go into with all zones. There's 3 standard forms. There's your normal form, there's a hybrid, and then there's the full animal. We've only seen that with Sengoku going into the full Buddha, but he becomes giant-sized. But on top of that, becoming this giant, shimmering, golden Buddha, he also has the ability to summon shockwaves whenever he wants. So, yeah, it's sort of like combining 2 classes into one. And Kizaru stated that this class, Mythical Zone, was even rarer than the Logia, and Logia is already pretty rare. Out of all the devil fruit categories, we know like 75 Paramecias currently. I think it's around 30-something zones, but we only know like 11 or 12 Logias, and I think that might actually be including both Ace and Sabo in that, so I think it's actually 11 Logias that have been confirmed. But Mythical Zones, so far in the story, we only know about 2. They were also, oddly enough, both introduced in the exact same arc in Marineford. Marco the Phoenix, the first division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates, and since the passing of Whitebeard, we salute you, man among men, is also the current captain and commander of the Whitebeard pirate crew in its entirety. He has the power of a Phoenix Mythical Zone. We don't actually know what it's called yet. I would assume the bird fruit model Phoenix, but we just don't know. And then we also have Sengoku, the former fleet admiral of the Marines, his devil fruit, the human fruit model Buddha. I get some questions on my channel that these are actually more frequent than you would think. I get people confusing ancient zones and mythical zones. Like, I get people sending me questions like, doesn't X Drake have a mythical zone? Or I thought Jack had a mythical zone. No, that's another subcategory of zones called ancient zones. The difference, of course, being those are animals that once existed in our world, like dinosaurs or mammoths that are just currently extinct. The concept behind mythical zones are, as you could probably figure, animals animals or creatures that exist only in legend. They don't actually exist in our world, and that's what makes them so fantastical, and that's what makes them so rare, and all these crazy wacky powers that you get with them. Honestly speaking, this is not a category we're probably going to see very much of in the future of One Piece. I definitely think we're going to see a few more, but don't think like it's eventually going to turn into like a Mythical Zoan showcase where we're going to get like dozens of Mythical Zoan fruits introduced. Although if we do get that, it might be through the artificial zones that Kaido is, giving to his crew, because there's some stuff with that I want to bring up, like with Momonosuke's fruit. I think we know where I'm going with this. Right, now, because of the very nature of what this category is, I really can't give you just a broad definition of abilities that mythical zones have. Depending on the mythical creature you become, you could have any number of abilities. Like I said, Sengoku's got the shockwave thing, but when you look at Marco, his ability is much more geared toward regeneration than actual combat. Also, he can fly because he turns into a phoenix, and a phoenix is a bird. Also, on top of that, you have to remember the legend of a phoenix. When a phoenix is near death, it bursts into flames, and then out of the ashes comes a newly reborn phoenix. Doesn't work exactly like that with Marco, but when Marco transforms into his full phoenix form, it really does feel like the fire that envelops him, which is blue fire in the anime, looks amazingly kick-ass. The blue fire that surrounds him takes the form of a phoenix, and the wings and everything, to the point that whenever Marco gets attacked, it really does look like the attacks are just phasing right through the fire. Oda referred to this as the flames of revival. His flames actually don't hurt anybody, so if you think Marco could just like flame on his right arm and then punch an opponent, the opponent's not actually going to feel any heat from Marco's flame. His specialty in the Phoenix form is not doing damage. It's flight, for one thing, as I stated, and also to heal, to make sure that he can't actually get hurt. So if he turns into a Phoenix and someone busts out some like a Gatling gun or something and just starts unloading on Marco, the bullets are actually hitting him, and they are doing damage to some extent. It's just that they're healing up due to the fire so damn quickly, Marco can kind of shrug it off like it's not a big deal. Now, what's the limits to this? Like, for example, if you were attacking Marco using a hockey-infused blade or something, or if you grabbed him, because he's sort of like intangible when he's in his Phoenix form. He's got the blue fire spraying out, but he's not a Logia. So I would say in that regard, he does have a physical form. It's just covered by fire. So when he transforms into a Phoenix, he really is the bird. He has wings and everything like that. His face obviously changes into a bird. It's just that he's surrounded by fire constantly, so it gives us the impression that he's like this intangible firebird just flying around, but he really does have a physical form. He's not a Logia. I would say a mythical zone, from what we've seen so far, crosses between Paramecia and Zone more than it does Logia and Zone. But like I said, we've never really seen that many mythical zones. We've only seen 2 of them so far. So for all we know, there is a mythical zone out there that you eat and you get more of a Logia ability crossed with a zone. It's quite possible from that. So yeah, that's the case with Marco. Also, I forgot to mention this, but all of the zone categories, mythical, ancient, carnivorous, and even the standard zones, they all have the same naming scheme, right? That's something that stays constant amongst all zones. And how it works is it's separating into the type of animal and the specific model, right? So for instance, remember Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas, their dog that, well, it was a cannon that ate the dog fruit and turned into a dog that could spit like baseballs that explode. That cannon ate the Inu Inu no Mi model Dashound, the dog fruit model Dashound, so it became a Dashound. Later on, in CP9, you get Jabra, who also ate the dog fruit, but his model was Wolf. So that's something that you have to break down how zones are structured. That's why you have the Hito Hito no Mi model Buddha, which was eaten by Sengoku, a mythical zone, and then you have the normal Hito Hito no Mi that was eaten by Chopper that didn't have any special categories. They all have the same basic structure there. That's why I think that it's most likely that Marco's fruit is just going to be called the bird fruit model Phoenix. Also, you have to remember back when Pell, during Alabasta, was talking about, like, there are only 5 devil fruits that allow flight. I don't know about that. Maybe Oda, he threw that out there a little bit earlier than he figured. I don't know if Pell was just including zones in that estimation, or if it was all devil fruits in general, because Marco can fly, Shiki could fly, Pell could fly, Caesar could fly. You also have to remember that it really just comes down to how the devil fruits are categorized, right? So how it works is somebody eats a devil fruit and then you figure out what it is, and then there's like a book of devil fruits, like an encyclopedia, that you can actually categorize that fruit in. But if the fruit was never discovered, they're not going to be able to know what the ability is, and it's not going to be in the encyclopedia. Marco's fruit, it's very likely that Marco might be the first person to ever find and or eat the phoenix fruit. Nobody might have had it before him, so it might not even be in a devil fruit encyclopedia. Therefore, Pell wouldn't be able to count it as one of the 5. But so far from what we've seen, I think it's definitely possible we're going to see more than 5 devil fruits capable of flight. Maybe just the 5 devil fruits that were revealed so far, that were categorized in the index. That's what Pell was referring to there. But yeah, I kind of got off topic there, just some clarification about zone stuff. Moving on to the other mythical zone we know about, I'm not going to talk about Sengoku's too much, because I think I already used it enough in the examples previously in the video, but it allows him to turn into a Buddha. And the funny thing about this is that it's something that's already been asked in the One Piece like fandom, is like, what would have happened if a human ate Chopper's devil fruit? What if a human ate the human Nomi? What would happen? Would nothing happen? And Oda explained that if you did eat the human fruit while being a human, you would achieve enlightenment. And I think Sengoku's devil fruit is kind of like a play off that statement he made, because he is a human, he ate a mythical variation of the human fruit and became a Buddha, who is someone that very much became enlightened. So I think that's the joke there. We don't really know about anything, any special abilities it gives Sengoku outside of the shockwaves. I think there'd be more stuff to it than that, but the size is very impressive, as well as the shockwave thing. But I like to think that there's some more stuff that Sengoku could do with his devil fruit that we just haven't seen yet. He's not the fleet admiral anymore, he's just the general inspector for now, but I would definitely like to see more of it in the future, how that would go down. And we really didn't get to see the hybrid of it all too much. We got to see him turn into the giant form, which I think is the true form of like the Buddha. Didn't really get to see the hybrid. Marco's we did. We saw him, phasing back and forth between it, like growing the phoenix legs and everything like that. But in terms of mythical zones, just in the story, that's the only ones we got. And I understand that people love to give mythical zones out to like characters we haven't met yet. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that Green Bull is going to be a mythical zone user, or that any other random person that we haven't seen yet is going to have a mythical zone power. The fandom loves this stuff. We want to see more mythical creatures. I myself love mythology. I mean, we got this book here, Fantastical Beasts, and not where to find them, but it's a field guide to Fantastical Beasts, written by this guy whose name I still cannot pronounce. But yeah, so I have this book, right? So I'm going through it, and I'm just like, okay, this obviously isn't every single, mythical creature in the world. This is just a brief, like the most famous ones, and just a brief description of them, and how they appear in legend and mythology and all that stuff, as well as how they appear in various movies. Human beings have been coming up with imaginary creatures for a long time now, guys. This is something that's been going on for a long time. So the possibilities are endless with this. But I really wouldn't want it to get bogged down. I really wouldn't want Oda to just start, going through every mythological creature and creating a mythical zone for that, because that kind of cheapens the rarity of it. And there's so many other categories that we could see that are interesting as well. I really hope that whenever Oda does choose to bring another mythical zone into the story, it's going to be somebody it's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be like, whoa, and we're not going to see like a bunch of mythical zones at once. True mythical zones, anyway. I guess I should talk about that for now. I was going to get into the book, but I'll get into this now. So, you have Momonosuke, right, who ate an artificial devil fruit, a smile that was developed by Caesar, using the sad and all that stuff, and he was able to transform into a dragon. A dragon, don't know if you know this, is a mythical creature. All right, so this raises a bunch of questions. So it's like, not only are you able to, well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you're able to make artificial devil fruits, you're gonna want to make artificial ones that are of like the highest category. You know, you're not just gonna want to create a lobster devil fruit or a rhino devil fruit or a gorilla devil fruit. You're gonna want to make, you know, if the access to everything, you're gonna make dinosaur devil fruits, a whole slew of ancient types, and you're also gonna make mythical zones if you have the opportunity. So dragons, griffins, centaurs, sphinx, whatever you want, right? And so that's kind of interesting. Now, artificial devil fruits are probably going to have a bunch of negative aspects to them that make them inferior to the real thing, and we're probably going to get into that more when we get to Kaido's territory and Wano, when we see Kaido's crew, because we've already seen like Sheep's Head and Gene Rummy and the Gifters, and we've seen like little scenes from these dudes. From what we've seen, it seems like they have zone powers, but only for like one section of their body. Like one dude had a lobster claw. We don't know if they can completely transform. The one person that we've seen that could do that, at least a little bit, not in the traditional way that zones usually transform, was Momonosuke. He was able to transform from his normal child form as a human and just kind of poof into a Chinese dragon. He doesn't seem to have a hybrid state between the two. He doesn't seem to have control over it all too well. Now, whenever a person first becomes a devil fruit user, it seems like they have pretty decent control over their power for the most part. You know, when a zone user becomes a zone user, it might be a little difficult to transform between the three stages at first. Like with Kaku, he tried to become a hybrid giraffe and he went full giraffe, and you never go full giraffe. It seemed like there was a little difficulty that he had, but he was still able to control it. Momonosuke, it seems completely different. It seems like he just goes into his dragon form whenever he gets stressed out or scared. He just poofs, and he's a dragon, and he seems stuck in that form for a while, like he can't change back. So that seems like a problem that exists with these artificial devil fruits only. But hey, if a dragon devil fruit exists and it's artificial, then I gotta say that they're manufacturing mythical zones, and there could be plenty of other mythical zone fruit out there in Kaido's army, which is terrifying. They might only be a fragment of it, like, you know, this guy has the Griffin devil fruit, but he can only manifest his hand into the Griffin claw, or he can manifest Griffin wings only, and he can't transform into the actual Griffin, or if he does, it takes some difficulty, something along those lines. Because you gotta set a difference down here. You know, this is really more like, quantity over quality, so to speak. You know, Kaido has an entire army of these devil fruit users that sounds really impressive on paper, but there's probably going to be some downsides to using artificial devil fruit smiles that we just don't know about yet. But, you know, I have to break that up. And maybe also Oda just really wanted to showcase a dragon devil fruit. Probably since the very beginning, he was like, you know what? I want to have a devil fruit that transforms into a freaking dragon. Dragons are cool. They're badass. And so that's why he used Momonosuke and Punk Hazard right as we're getting in the new world. Here's a freaking dragon. There's dragons all over freaking Punk Hazard. I'm not even going to bring up the dragon that was actually, like, engineered by Vegapunk. Was it engineered by Vegapunk or Caesar? Because that island was in control of a facility run by Vegapunk. I think Vegapunk created the dragons, and I think Caesar just took over the island later. I don't think Caesar was the one who created the dragons, but that's like genetic engineering. That's like messing with genes and biodiversity and stuff. That's something completely different from devil fruits. It might be like Caesar took DNA samples from the artificially created dragons that Vegapunk created, and he used that as a foundation to create the artificial smile that was the dragon fruit that Momonosuke ate. No, that may be getting a little bit science. You know, science has damned us all! We've gone too far! But, you know, it's interesting. It's cool. I mean, I think we're going to get more into that. Vegapunk's going to lay this all out for us, guys. Alright, so right now, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit on how this video's going to go. You know, I'm just going to kind of peruse through this book, the Fantastical Beasts field guide here, and I was looking through this earlier, and I have some ideas. Alright, so basically, a lot of mythical creatures have an appearance that are similar to human beings, like that anthropomorphic 2 arms, 2 legs, bipedal, you got the head, you got the nose and the eyes. They look very similar to humans. And so I don't think we're going to see any mythical zones like that, because we already have that with Sengoku's Buddha fruit. I don't think there's going to be like a Hito no Mi model dwarf. Well, we kind of already have the dwarves with the Tontatas, so that's kind of a bad example. But, the Hito no Mi model elves, model fairy, model, I think there's gnomes in here too, which that might be more the Tontatas. Are Tontatas more of gnomes or pixies or dwarves? Or is Oda just taking all of those legends and mixing them into ones? Goblins, I don't think we're going to get that. So, moving on, leprechauns. The Hito no Mi motto leprechaun there, fair lass. Where is me gold? You could just summon a pot of gold and you could control rainbows whenever you go. I kind of want to see that now. You can think of all the fun stuff you can do with this. Pixies, But like I said, I think that's not going to happen, because that would be all, like, human, because they all have a human appearance in general, and we've already seen that, like, the Tontatas are kind of already, like, the gnomes or the pixies of the One Piece world. The same thing with mermaids and that stuff. Like, mermaids are in here as well. They're mythological creatures, but they already exist, separate from devil fruits, mermaids and fishmen, so they're not going to appear as a mythical zone. But then you get into things like the demons and the undead, and this is where it gets fun. At first, I was thinking, ooh, banshees or ghosts, like a ghost mythical zone. That would be awesome. But then you stop and think, isn't that kind of what Brook's fruit is? And it's like, yeah, he has the ability to separate his soul from his body, and he can pass through walls, and I think he can affect things in the physical world with his ghost, at least a little bit, using kind of like a poltergeist would or something. He's not invisible when he's in his ghost form. I want to think that Brook could turn invisible if he wanted to. Because he had this whole thing where he's like, yeah, after I figure out how I used my Yomi no Mi, after I could separate my soul, I would use it to spy on, like, women's baths and stuff. You think if women are taking a bath and all of a sudden Brook's freaky ghost head pops into the freaking, hello there, ladies, don't mind me, be like, oh my god, a freaking pervert ghost! So I like to think maybe if Brook wanted to, he could make his ghost image, he expels from his body, his soul, invisible, but it's certainly visible sometimes, like Papagoo was able to see it when they were in Neptune's palace, so that's the thing with that. Really, I would say that fits more of Brook's Yomi no Mi, and that's a paramecia, that's not even a mythical zone, so it doesn't mean like everything that has a connection to a mythical creature is going to be turned into a devil fruit, we're not saying that, but that's the thing with ghosts. Okay, demons. This is interesting also, because this brings a debate whether they're like a subcategory of humans in general, like the demon humans that we saw in like Impel Down, like how Hannibal had the demon horns coming out of him, where his eyebrows are, Magellan, it's just like, and then we have ores and everything that are referred to as demon giants, so I would totally be for, like, a demon mythical zone devil fruit, but I'm just saying we've already seen humans and giants that kind of have that aesthetic already. And then not even getting into Kaido, because people think Kaido is going to turn out to be having either some, like, the Oni fruit, or something along that line, or he's part of the devil, giant race, the same that Ors was, maybe he's a descendant, like a crossbreed or something like that. We've seen those before, like Praline, she's a cross between a mermaid and a human. Derringer in the Doflamingo family, cross between a fighting fishman and a human. So there you go. But yeah, demons are on the cusp, because I could see having like demon humans, but also having a demon mythical zone. I could definitely see that working. We already talked about Krampus. A Krampus devil fruit having the ability to punish bad children. Your power only works on one night a year, and it's Christmas Eve. But on that one eve, you are like totally OP. You have the ability to travel all over the world in a single night. You got speed blitzing capabilities, being able to summon weapons out of thin air to punish children for being bad. The Krampus. Mummies. I don't think there's going to be a mummy devil fruit, not getting there. Poltergeist, kind of already talked about that. That's sort of like Brook's fruit. Vampires. Okay, see, here's the problem with the vampire. Vampire fruit, that sounds so cool, right? Mythical Zone vampire. It's already been done before, unfortunately. It was already done in the One Piece video game, and it was wielded by a guy named Patrick Redfield. kind of a disappointing devil fruit, honestly. Have not actually played the game myself, but I've read up on it on the wiki and everything. And the Mythical Zoan that we actually got two in that game. There was a Mythical Zoan vampire, and there was also a Mythical Zoan tanuki. And the vampire wasn't really a real vampire. Patrick Redfield could turn into like a large bat creature. It seemed like he could appear like a teleportation ability in a sense. But he did not actually drink blood, which is like the one thing you would expect a vampire to do, is drink blood. He sucked out like your life force. And it was the Bato Bato no Mi model vampire. And the reason I don't think it's going to appear in the story now is because how it usually goes is somebody goes up to Oda and is like, hey, we're working on this game. We're thinking about using a vampire Mythical Zoan. Would you be all right with that? Oda had to give the go-ahead to say, yeah, I'm not going to use that for anything. You can have it. Now, with that being said, I did make a video on a theory of a blood devil fruit. That would be kind of work separately than how like a vampire operates. You can go check that out. So we might still see a devil fruit involving blood in some way, but in terms of like Luffy and the gang going against a straight up vampire in the canon of the story, I don't think that's going on. Also in that game we had a pen, as in a pen, an inanimate object, eat the Tanuki Mythical Zoan, and it was able to transform into a transforming Tanuki. So there you go. Kind of sucks that we got that, because considering Chopper is always referred to as a Tanuki, I thought we could definitely do something with the Tanuki fruit in the story, but I don't think it's going to happen in the canon now that we got that. Ooh, zombies! Unfortunately, we already had zombies in the One Piece world. That was Thriller Bark, but, you know, it was fun. Water creatures, the problem... What the hell? Bunips? Bunips? I've never heard of that thing. It's like a rabid dog, coyote, bunny thing in like a river that'll like bite you with these giant vampire fangs. That looks awesome. Never heard of that before. The Hydra. Okay, that's cool. A 9-headed thing that just can't die. Their heads keep popping up. The problem with water-based creatures is the devil fruit inherent weakness is water. So while you might like the Kappas, for instance, Kappas are like a really standard mythical creature in Japan. Kappas are like these tortoise things that love to eat cucumbers, and they try to impregnate humans with their seed, their like demon seed. Like this is a thing that's actually, yeah. The thing is, though, they're always around water, and devil fruit's weaknesses are water, or rather, when you get into water, you can't move around too well. But if you have, like, a Kappa devil fruit, and you don't go, like, into too deep water, like these Kappas here, these Kappas just seem to be chilling out, you know, tormenting this sumo wrestler in, like, a shallow pond. You probably have to stay near water, but maybe there could be a Kappa fruit. The Kraken! Don't think there'd be a giant squid, or the Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Hybrid beasts. Okay, the Centaur. So, I would love a Centaur fruit, and that would probably, because we've already seen the horse fruit. That was eaten by Pierre, Gonfal's, like, trusty steed. I would think the Centaur fruit would be like the horse fruit model Centaur. You know, Centaurs are cool. I'm a fan of Monster Musume myself, so, Saria, you know, it's, woo! Yeah, But anyway, yeah, Centaurs. The funny thing about Centaurs is that most of the time in fiction, they're always displayed as these very noble, like, creatures, like they have a very intricate society they're very highly intelligent on the same level of humans, if not superior, like in Lord of the Rings or in Harry Potter. Yeah, it turns out Centaurs, for the most part, are kind of these monstrous bastards that'll just like beasts, basically. Chiron was one that was kind of chill. He was one of the more intelligent ones. He was like a teacher in Greek mythology, but for the most part, yeah, Centaurs are kind of just crazy beasts in the original legends. And you know where Centaurs came from? It's actually really simple where they came from. Back in Europe, back in the day, when there was like an area of Europe where horses were commonplace, and then there were areas where horses were not. So when people started riding into these areas where horses didn't exist, and they were riding on horseback, you know, you would immediately think these are mythical creatures or of legend or something. They're half human, half horse, some other creature they're part of, you know? And that's where the whole legend came from, basically. But yeah, so that's Centaurs. Dragons. I've already talked about that whole section on dragons here. It's like 3 pages. This is a Chinese dragon right here. Kind of the same thing with like Shenron from DBZ, which Momonosuke takes the appearance of. But we were talking about dragons. I would love to see a Griffin Mythical Zoan. If there was going to be any other Mythical Zoan in the story canon, like if I could only pick one, it would definitely be the Griffin. Griffins are cool. Head of an eagle, body of a lion, wings of a hawk. You can fly. I don't know, it could breathe fire, maybe? Like, it's Oda, you can make it do whatever you want, you know? It's got a tail, you know, it's pretty damn sweet. You know, it's like half eagle, half lion, all badass, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's the freaking thing. Minotaur, we kind of already had a Minotaur with Minotauros, satyrs, Sphinx, you know, I don't see a Sphinx. Unicorn! That's another thing, that the horse fruit model unicorn. You know, I would love for some really big, burly, badass character in One Piece, like, oh, I'm Kilgore, I'm super tough. And then his, like, what's your devil fruit ability, Kilgore? It must be something truly badass. I don't like to talk about it. And then he transforms into a unicorn. It's like, oh, that's so beautiful. And he's like, ah! And he goes around stabbing people with his horn. That's pretty cool. Unicorns are sweet. Coming up on the end of this, just really quick. Actually, the last chapter of this is just humanoid creatures, like giants. Would there be a giant devil fruit? We've kind of already had that, because I think in the games, and also in one of the movie tie-ins with, like, Lily, a stomach. I think that was the tie-in for Film Z. Or no, that was the tie-in for Strong World. No, not Strong World. It must have been Film Z. I think it was Film Z. Anyway, that tie-in had a giant that ate a devil fruit that allowed her, the mini Nomi, that allowed her to change size. So she was a giant, so she had the ability to, you know, go down into human size, and vice versa. But maybe there's a devil fruit that just, not even a devil fruit that's like the Mythical Zoan for giants, or even just, you know, giant form. It just allows you to grow in size, like the grow fruit, and it allows you to just grow. That's all that is. Werewolves! Kind of already had that with Jabra. He wasn't a werewolf, so to speak. He was just a regular wolf, but he had a lot of similarities with werewolves and all that stuff, so I don't think we're gonna get a werewolf one. Witches, nah. Bigfoot! Bigfoot! Devil fruit. I mean, that's kind of what Chopper is, sort of, when he goes into his human form. People's like, oh, you're a Yeti, but yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. And then finally, in the last chapter of this book, we get to the sacred and the divine, like the demigods or the straight-up gods. All right, and I really think this is what mythical really means in the sense. Like, obviously, Phoenix is not a god, so to speak. I mean, maybe in subcultures they're viewed as straight-up deities, but for the most part, they're just mythical creatures. The Buddha... With Buddhists, you don't really have a god. Like, the Buddha should not be set up as, like, this all-knowing, omniscient, powerful god that actually affects things in the world like the Christian god does. So don't really view the Buddha like that. The Buddha is just somebody that's, like, achieved the highest levels of enlightenment as a human and is on, like, the next plane of existence or anything, but not, like, an interventionist god sort of deal. So don't view the Buddha like that. But, you know, we have angels, an angel Mythical Zoan. I think there's a lot of possibilities with that. They would definitely be able to fly. You got the Furies, which is from Roman mythology. They also have a Greek name, which is the Urines or Urines. I don't think that's how it's pronounced. It starts with an E. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, but that's their Greek name. Golems. Golems are cool. I don't think a golem fruit could really work, though, because the whole idea with golems was they were, like, created... It's in Jewish lore, and it was basically like a creature made out of clay that you would write a command down on, like, a piece of paper and then chuck it in its mouth, and then they would do that command. Not really sure how you could translate that to a devil fruit. Golem, who's in here for some reason from Lord of the Rings. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I got here in the book. And the Jinn, or the genies that I've discussed. I made a whole video about that. That's more about Daifuku's devil fruit in the Big Mom family. So I don't think we're gonna get a genie Mythical Zoan. But yeah, I just wanted to go through the book just really quick, you know, just to cover all my bases, you know, just to cover all the very popular mythical creatures that exist out there in the world. Which one of those creatures that I mentioned would you like to see into a Mythical Zoan form? Or if I didn't mention one, because this doesn't include everything, which other mythical creature maybe from your culture that's specific only to your your upbringing that you were always told about as a kid or something like that maybe Western people might not know about, or other parts of the world. You know, everybody has a different background of mythology depending on where you grow up, so it's always really cool, and all these like urban legends and everything. Living in Pennsylvania, which is right next to New Jersey in America, we have the thing of the Jersey Devil, which is supposedly supposedly living in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and like, stuff like that. We always have these things, like urban legends are a little bit different than mythology, but you never know. What do you guys think about that? And here's another question. This is going to be rather specific, but you understand my reasoning. How many more mythical zones do you think we're going to see in the story? I only ask this because, like I said, I wouldn't really like to have, like, oh, there's going to be, like, 20 more. I'm like, that kind of cheapens it. They're mythical. They're supposed to be super, super rare. Absolute rarest kind of devil fruit that we know about so far. So if I was to have my money, 2 or 3. And that's not including the artificial. Just 2 or 3 genuine mythical zones. We'd have Marco and Sengoku and like 2 or 3 more, and I think that would be good. And they would be given to characters that have a lot of weight to the story, whether they be good or bad, that the Straw Hats have to fight against, or they become an ally. And like I said, we could still get references to other, like, we get references to giants and things. They don't have anything to do with mythical zones. But, yeah, so let me know about that stuff below. Thank you. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. That's the video. So thanks for watching. Remember to like and comment and subscribe and all that stuff. Tekking101 this, Tekking101 that. Tekking101 everything. Tekking101... you know what? I've said this before, but the whole Tekking101 thing, it came about from watching Zoe 101. There's really no interesting mythical background of it. It's just I was watching Zoe 101 and I came up with Tekking because I was like 11 or 12, and I'm like, I have all these video game consoles because I'm a spoiled only child. I guess I'm the king of tech. And 101 because of Zoe 101, and I just ended up using it for everything. I use it for my email, my Facebook, all that stuff. It just happened. I don't know. And then YouTube eventually. Thanks for watching, though, anybody. That was a weird tangent, but later. See ya.